Hello everyone, this is the 5th Epical Revelation Fellowship. I'm Reverend Dr. Roger Paul, and I'm here with my wife, Diane Paul. I forgot to introduce her yesterday, and several people on Skype again tonight. Tonight we're going to study Paper 6, The Eternal Son, and that starts on page 73.1, or Paper 6, Section 01. And that's called The Eternal Son again. And I want to remind everyone, if you can see me at home in the videos, the slides behind me can be found on the website, 5th Epical Revelation Fellowship.com. They're right underneath the video, so you can download them and enjoy them at your leisure. And there's two versions, one with just the words from the book, and the other one has pictures and illustrations with it. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that tonight. Sometimes I forget. Another thing I want to mention tonight too, that I say quite often, that we study this book all together, and the opinions that I give about the book are many times just my opinion. There's no ecclesiastical interpretation of the book. So these are just my opinions, what I think it means. Don't take it too seriously. You can draw your own opinions from reading it yourself. We just try to help each other understand it, and that's what this is all about. It's a great blessing to have the opportunity just to share this book with each other. So we're going to say a little prayer and get started. I think I'll pray tonight.
Okay, Roger, I'm sorry to hear that. Service guys here, I've got to go. I'll be right back.
Go right ahead, Rodney. Just come on back when you get back.
Sorry about that.
Father, thank you for this opportunity to share this wonderful revelation again tonight. We thank you for bestowing this privilege on us to learn this information in this world. This is our this week is the Holy Week. It's Passover, and this Sunday is Easter for us, and we want to recognize the fact that Jesus came to share your love and tell us about you and the brotherhood of man, and we thank him and we praise him for everything he did. We hate that he had to go through the crucifixion. What a horrible thing to go through, but we praise you in the fact that you loved us enough to send a son, that we might learn about you more. And we pray that we'll keep this weekend and this Easter in the right frame of mind, that we might remember that that's what it's all about, as the celebration of the resurrection of Christ. Well, tonight we're going to study the Eternal Son, Lord, and we pray that you'll bless this meeting and bless those who hear it and those with us tonight, and that we might learn something from your revelation tonight in your ancient book. We thank you, and we give you the praise in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay.
Amen.
Millie, would you like to start us out tonight on the Eternal Son?
Yes, I can do that. You want me to do that?
Please.
The Eternal Son, Paper 6, the Eternal Son. The Eternal Son is the perfect and final expression of the first, personal, and absolute concept of the Universal Father. Accordingly, whenever and however the Father personally and absolutely expresses himself, he does so through the Eternal Son, whoever has been, now is, and ever will be, the living and divine Word. And this Eternal Son is a residential at the center of all things, in association with and immediately enshrouding the personal presence of the eternal and universal Father.
Okay, the Eternal Son, the first paragraph. Let me hit a slide real quick that make this a little bigger. And I want to talk about this slide for just a minute. And Stephen so eloquently talked about it a couple weeks ago when we were talking about the Eternal Son, him being the divine Word. And those of you who were with us back when we went through the 12-week of the study on the destiny and universe reality, will remember this slide. And it shows us the Trinity, the original Trinity. And it shows us the universal Father, is number one there. You see the number one, and then there's a number two and number three. The second one is the original Son. The universal Father's first thought and expression was what? The original Son. Okay, and we're going to go through this at great length tonight. It's hard for us to understand, though, that the universal Father and the eternal Son, y'all excuse me, I have a cat trying to crawl up to the ceiling here. The universal Father and the original Son are existential. In other words, they're not only everywhere, all the time, but they always have been. We always like to say in the Urantia book, it teaches us so that we can get a frame of thought about how everything started. But actually, the original Son has always been, because it was the very first thought of the Father. And their thought together, or their action together, was the creation of the conjoint actor, which is the infinite Spirit. Okay? And that's what this first slide's about. I thought it would be a good opportunity to bring this back up one more time. The other thing I wanted to point out, which we're going to talk about a little bit tonight, is the original Son is the second original absolutes. And we talked about this during that presentation about the seven absolutes, and this is the seven absolutes of God the Father. Okay, so the Son is part of that seven absolute. He's the second part of that, the conjoint actor being the third part. Y'all remember what the fourth part was? That was the Isle of Paradise, the physical part, right? And these are the four circuits too. The Father is personality. The second one is the Son, which is spirit. The third one, which is mind, is the infinite Spirit. And the fourth circuit, the gravity circuit, the physical circuit, is what? The Isle of Paradise. The four circuits of the absolutes. Okay, so now in the Bible, it talks about the Son being the living and divine Word, right? So what would that be? That would be the eternal expression of God the Father through the Son. Inseparable. Okay? Did you have anything else you wanted to say about that, Stephen, from the other night that I missed here? May have forgotten?
No, I we'll just let you go with it, Roger. Go ahead.
All right. Stephen, would you take the next paragraph for us, please?
All right. We speak of God's first thought and allude to an impossible time origin of the eternal Son for the purpose of gaining access to the thought channels of the human intellect. Such distortions of language represent our best efforts at compromise with the time-bound minds of mortal creatures. In the sequel sense, the universal Father never could have had a first thought, nor could the eternal Son ever have had a beginning. But I was instructed to portray the realities of eternity to the time-limited minds of mortals by such symbols of thought, and to designate the relationships of eternity by such time concepts as sequentially.
Okay, so they're telling us that in reality, there never was a time when God the Father, God the Son, and God the Spirit did not exist, right? But they teach us it this way so we can get a sequential idea of how it should have, or well, they try to explain to it happened, right? But in reality, they always have been, just like the Isle of Paradise always has been. But as human beings being born and started, we always need that first concept of starting up, right? Okay, and a great picture of that is this next slide. Let me bring this up and make it large too, so that we can see this. This is a concept of the universal Father, who is spirit, and the non-personal self of the universal Father. He created the eternal Son, which is a spirit person, right? At the same time creation began, so did paradise appear. And that as a non-personal entity, right? Paradise is not deity. It never has been, and it has no personality, right? So when the eternal Son sprang forth, paradise sprang forth at the same time. One deity, one non-deity. Okay? That's why I wanted to show you that too. Okay? But this is the only way they can come up with a concept for us to begin to understand these things. All right. Let me see if I can keep this. Okay. Rodney, are you back yet? Probably not. Dear, would you take the next one?
In an effort to enable the finite mind of time to form some sequential concept of the relationships of the eternal and infinite beings of the Paradise Trinity, we utilize such license of conception as to refer to the Father's first personal.
Let me interrupt
Okay.
you, dear. I think we skipped over one.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Oh, through.
Yeah, I believe we skipped a paragraph there.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
It was probably my fault. I probably hit it twice. Let me back up one. There we go.
Okay. The Eternal Son is a spiritual personalization of the Paradise Father's universal and infinite concept of divine reality, unqualified spirit, and absolute personality. And thereby does the Son constitute the divine revelation of the Creator identity of the Universal Father. The perfect personality of the Son discloses that the Father is actually the eternal and universal source of all the meanings and values of the spiritual, the volitional, the purposeful, and the personal.
Okay, so the eternal Son is the original spirit personalization, right? Remember, the Father has the personals, is the circuit of all personality. And the Son is the original personality, right? He is an unqualified spirit. Always has been, always will be. And he's the absolute personality. Now, do y'all remember when we talked about the 7 absolutes before? Let me see if I can find this slide. Here we go. The 7 absolutes. The 7 absolutes, let me see if I can bring this up larger. All right, are the universal Father, the original Son, God the Son, the conjoint actor, the nuclear Isle of Paradise, which you wouldn't think that would be an absolute, but it is. It always has been, always will be. And what's the other two? The qualified or the deity absolute, the unqualified absolute, and the universal absolute. And those are the 7 absolutes of what? The beginning God the Father, the I am, right? Okay, so it tells us here in this slide we just read that the eternal Son is what? The absolute personality. And that's what they're talking about. He's an original. He will always has been, always will be. He's the only personality outside God the Father that will always be absolute, right? With the exception of the infinite spirit, right? Okay. And let's see what else I want to say. I think that's all I want to say about that slide. Let's keep going. All right, I'll take the next one.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, Rodney, let me get you to the right slide and I'll let you read the next one if you would. We're on 604, in an effort to enable the the finite mind.
Okay, got it. Is that for me to read?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. In an effort to enable the finite mind of time to form some sequential concept of the relationships of the eternal and infinite beings of the Paradise Trinity, we utilize such license of conception as to refer to the, quote, Father's first personality,
No, first
universal-
personal. Yeah. First personal, not personality. Okay?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Quote, I did totally misdo that.
yeah.
Quote, Father's first personal, universal, and infinite concept, close quote. It is impossible for me to convey to the human mind any adequate idea of the eternal relations of the deities. Therefore, do I employ such terms as will afford the finite mind something of an idea of the relationship of these eternal beings in the subsequent eras of time. We believe that the Son sprang from the Father. We are taught that both are unqualifiedly eternal. It is apparent, therefore, that no time creature can ever fully comprehend this mystery of a Son who is derived from the Father and yet who is coordinately eternal with the Father himself.
Now, doesn't it sound like this guy is really pained to explain this to us? Like there's really no words for him to put it into a concept for the mortal mind to understand. It sounds like I actually feel for him. You know, this is I believe a universal censor that's telling us about this. Divine counselor. I'm sorry, divine counselor. That's telling us about this, and it sounds like he's just aching to find an explanation to relay the fact that the eternal Son sprang from the Father, and yet they always have been. You see that? So there's just not a concept for him to give us that makes that make sense to us. Okay? So, and that's why they say the Father's first personal, universal, and infinite concept. You know, that would have been, if it were a first concept, would have been what? The Son. Right? Which is hard for us to understand, and it's hard for him to explain to us. Okay, let's keep going here. I'll take the next one. Number 1, the identity of the Eternal Son. The Eternal Son is the original and only begotten Son of God. He is God the Son, the second person of deity, and the associate creator of all things. As the Father is the first great source and center, so is the Eternal Son is the second great source and center. Now I want to make something clear here, especially on this paragraph, because this is misconstrued in the Bible many times. The original Son is the only begotten Son of God. 1. Right? But, and this is a big but, Christ is the only begotten creator Son of God that's ever been on earth. So does that make Christ the only begotten Son to us? Yes. Okay? It's not a contradiction. But the original Son was the only begotten true Son of God, and all personalities are derivatives of what? The Eternal Son. Nothing is created without being created through whom? The Eternal Son. Right? Okay? And it goes on to say he is the second person of deity, the associate creator of all things. So, it is the creator, it is the infinite Son that creates all things. Now, how is it that Christ is our creator? Because Christ is the what? He is the derivative from the eternal Son, right? He is the line of deity to us. He is our creator Son. But everything is created through the eternal Son, through the creator Son, and that's where it stops. Creatorship ends with the creator sons. They cannot bestow that privilege onto anyone else. Okay? Only the eternal Son can do that. Okay, and that's why he's called the second great source and center. Does that make sense? Okay, so it's important for us to know that. Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. The Eternal Son is the spiritual center and the divine administrator of the spiritual government of the universe of universes. The Universal Father is the first creator and then a controller. The Eternal Son is first a co-creator and then a spiritual administrator. God is spirit, and the Son is a personal revelation of that spirit. The first source and center is the volitional absolute. The second source and center is the personality absolute.
Okay, do y'all see the absolutes there coming in there again? That's why all that we spent all that time on the absolutes. Okay, so let's go back through this. The eternal Son is the spiritual center and divine administrator. Okay, so that's where the spirit circuit comes from, right? Every spirit being is drawn into God through the spiritual circuit, and that is controlled by the eternal Son. He's also the administrator of the universe of universes, isn't he? So he is in control of all beings, wherever they are. Okay, and then it goes on to say that the Creator is the controller, right? The Universal Father is the controller. The Eternal Son is a co-creator and then a spiritual administrator. You see the difference? God the Father controls all. The Eternal Son is the co-creator, but he administers all, the spiritual administrator. All right? God is Spirit, so the Son is a revelation of whom? God the Father. That's why he's the Word. Okay? And what? The first source and center is what? The volitional absolute. The second source and center is the personal absolute. Okay? Personality, right? Alright. Let's keep going. Find the right mouse here. Okay. Stephen, would you take the next one?
Okay, Roger. The Universal Father never personally functions as a creator except in conjunction with the Son or with the coordinated action of the Son. Had the New Testament writer referred to the eternal Son, he would have uttered the truth when he wrote, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made."
Okay, so they weren't talking about Jesus there, were they? They were talking about the eternal Son. Okay? And I want to make that clear. Now, there is a caveat to that, though. Who is the Word made flesh? Jesus, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is the what? The representation of that very Word, the Son, isn't he? He's the personal representation of God the Father and God the Son. You know, when Jesus said, "If you've seen the Father, you've seen me," it was exactly correct, because he is the result of the Father and the Son, right? So he is the deity as far as we're concerned. He is our God on earth, is he not? All right, let's keep going. I'm having mouse troubles tonight. Okay. Rodney, would you take the next one, please, sir?
All right, from my speaker over there, or microphone over there. When a son of the eternal Son appeared
Hey,
on
give me
your
just
edge,
give me just a second.
okay,
I skipped over something here again. Okay, there we go.
alrighty. When a son of the eternal Son appeared on earth, on Urantia, those who fraternized with this divine being in human form alluded to him as he who was from the beginning, whom we have heard, whom we have seen with our eyes, whom we have looked upon, and our hands have handled, even the word of life. And this bestowal Son came forth from the Father just as truly as did the original Son, as is suggested in one of his early prayers. And now, O my Father, glorify me with your own self, with the glory which I had with you before this world was.
And that's correct. Why? Because he came from the Father, right? And the Son. He's the
Yeah.
child of the Father and the Son, right? Okay. Let's see if I can get. All right. Dear, would you take the next one?
I have a question.
Go right ahead. Go ahead, Mel.
Does the eternal Son and the infinite spirit create the creator sons?
No, that was the universal Father and the eternal Son. Those
They create the creator sons.
creator sons. That's right. Now, what
Okay.
is the equal of the creator Son that the infinite Spirit gets involved? That is the.
I didn't understand.
Create the Mother
Holy
Spirit.
Spirit.
I didn't understand what you said.
I said, what is the equal that gets involved with the creation of the creator sons? That would be the infinite Spirit creating the what? Local universe mother spirits, right? Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So at the same time that the Father and the Son create a creator Son, then the infinite Spirit gets involved and creates the local universe mother spirit as the Son's mate. Okay? We don't want to skip over that. That's important. You know, we're talking about the Son, but that's an important part of any creator Son. Is a creator Son is useless without what? Without the local universe
Mother spirit.
mother spirit. That's right. And that's how the infinite spirit gets involved in this creative process, isn't it? Right? Now, think about it this way. All three of them gets involved in creating what? Emmanuel, don't they? The third part of the creation process, we have to have Emmanuel created the same time. That's why they all have exactly the same number. Okay? So it's a threefold process, isn't it? For each and every
So you're saying there's an Emmanuel in every universe.
Yes, there's an equivalent of Emmanuel in every single universe. Right? Okay? It's part of this creative process. Okay? Okay. Ready?
The Eternal Son is known by different names in various universes. In the central universe, he is known as the co-coordinate source, the co-creator, and the associate absolute. On Uversa, the headquarters of the super-universe, we designate the Son as the co-ordinate spirit center and as the eternal spirit administrator. On Salvington, the headquarters of your local universe, this Son is of record as the second eternal source and center. The Melchizedeks speak of him as the Son of Sons. On your world, but not in your system of inhabited spheres, the original Son has been confused with the co-ordinate creator Son, Michael of Nebadon, who bestowed himself upon the mortal races of Urantia.
Okay, notice all the way through this paragraph, it's always coordinate source, or co-creator, or associate absolute. Nothing that is created without the eternal Son. That's why he's considered the coordinate source, or the co-creator, or the associate absolute. Nothing has ever been created without the involvement of the eternal Son. Okay? And he is the coordinate spirit center, or the eternal spirit's administrator. Now, why is that? Because all spirit beings are responsive to what? The spirit circuit of the eternal Son. Without the eternal Son, you would not have that spirit circuit, and you would not find your way to the Father either, right? The adjuster leads you home to the Father, but the way we get there is through the draw of the Son of God through the spirit circuit. Okay? The adjuster already knows the way, but that drawing power comes from the Son. They never do anything separately. Okay? And it goes on to tell us that he's known by different names in different sections. This Melchizedek speak of him as the Son of Sons. Why would that be? Because he is the creator of all the creator sons. Okay, and then it goes on to tell us that on our world, we confuse the creator Son, Michael of Nebadon, or Nebadon, of Jesus, who bestowed himself on the mortal races. That's what we confused in the New Testament. We confused him as part of the original Trinity, and he was not. Okay? All right. All right, let's keep going. Although any of the paradise sons may fittingly be called sons of God, we are in the habit of reserving the designation the eternal Son for this original Son, the second source and center, co-creator with the universal Father, and the central universe of power and perfection, and co-creator of all other divine sons who spring from the infinite deities. So that he is the co-creator, the source of all sons of God, right? All the way down. He's responsible for the creator sons. The creator sons are responsible for us. With the adjuster, we fuse with the adjuster, and then we become sons of God ourselves, right? We go from being faith sons of God to real sons of God. That's when we're given our new name on fusion. Okay. Lily, would you take the next one, please?
Number 2, the nature of the eternal Son. The eternal Son is just as changeless and infinitely dependable, changeless and infinitely dependable as the universal Father. He is also just as spiritual as the Father, just as truly unlimited spirit. To you of lowly origin, the Son would appear to be more personal, since he is one step nearer you than the inapproachability than the universal Father.
That's right. So he's the next step down from the universal Father, although he's just as what? Absolute.
Changeless and dependable and
Absolute. Yeah, that's right.
Absolute is the Father.
That's right. That's right. So when you think of the Father, you have to consider the Son, don't you? There's no separating them. There really isn't.
But
Okay.
he's one step nearer you in approachability than the Father.
Yeah, that's right.
But the Creator Son is much more approachable.
Much more approachable. Now, who would be a one step down from the eternal Son? That would be the infinite Spirit, right? So, and then the step down from that would be what? The Supreme for us. Now that you have the 7 executives and all that, and we're going to get onto that in a little bit in later papers around 15, where we're going to talk about that a lot. Okay. Stephen, would you take the next one?
Okay. The eternal Son is the eternal Word of God. He is holy like the Father. In fact, the eternal Son is God the Father, personally manifest to the universe of universes. And thus it was, and is, and forever will be true of the eternal Son and of all the coordinated Creator sons. He who has seen the Son has seen the Father.
It's just a downstepping of the Son, aren't they? You know. So when Jesus said, "If you've seen me, you've seen the Father," that's what he's talking about, isn't he? You know, he's the epitome of the eternal Son and the epitome of our concept of the Father, right? All right. Rodney, would you take the next one?
In nature, the Son is holy like the Spirit Father. When we worship the universal Father, actually, we at the same time worship God the Son and God the Spirit. God the Son is just as divinely real and eternal in nature as God the Father.
So when we're worshiping and we're worshiping the Father, who else receives that worship?
The Trinity does.
The Trinity does. That's right. The Son and the Spirit, don't they? So even though we all beings of the universe worship the universal Father, the worship actually goes to all 3 parts of the Trinity, doesn't it? And let's take that one step further. Don't you think that eventually, as the outer space levels come into full fruition, that the qualified absolute, the unqualified absolute, and the universal absolute will probably benefit in some way also? Because they're part of the absolutes of God, right? The I am of God. It would make sense that would follow, wouldn't it? Okay. It's interesting how God's always in 7 parts. Always in 7 parts. All right.
The Son not only possesses all the Father's infinite and transcendent righteousness, but the Son is also reflective of all the Father's holiness of character. The Son shares the Father's perfection and jointly shares the responsibility of aiding all creatures of imperfection in their spiritual efforts to attain divine perfection.
So if you think about it, the Son is that part of the Trinity that is reaching down, drawing all beings towards what? The Father, isn't he? If you can think of him as the hand reaching down from God, because he's the what? The first thought of God, isn't he? The first action is the Spirit. Okay. The eternal Son possesses all. Did you just read that, dear?
No.
Okay. The eternal Son possesses all the Father's characters of divinity and attributes of spirituality. The Son is the fullness of God's absoluteness in personality and spirit. These qualities the Son reveals in his personal management of the spiritual government of the universes of universes. Now, think about this. The Son is the fullness of God's absoluteness. In other words, all reaction that God the Father has to all the universes out to the 4 outer space levels, okay, is the Son's moving personality and spirit. Does that make sense? Okay? And he's the management arm of all the spiritual government of all the universes of all universes of all universes. Does that make sense? So nothing in all the universes gets done without the eternal Son. Millie, would you take the next? Oh, wait a minute. My turn, I guess, isn't it? I was going to skip myself. God is indeed a universal spirit. God is spirit. And this spirit nature of the Father is focalized and personalized in the deity of the eternal Son. In the Son, all spiritual characteristics are apparently greatly enhanced by differentiation from the universality of the first source and center. And the Father shares his spirit nature with the Son. So do they together just as fully and unreservedly share the divine spirit of the conjoint actor, the infinite Spirit. Okay, so think of it this way. God's the universal spirit, okay? The Son is the drawing power of all universal spirit, right? And they share this power with whom? The conjoint actor, the infinite Spirit, right? So we still have the three, if you think about it, we still have those first 3 circuits, don't we? Personality circuit, spiritual circuit, and mindal circuit. Okay, and we're going to get into that deeper. And of course, the gravity is paradise, right? It always comes back to that. And there's 7 others we're gonna talk about later, not tonight, but it's involved with this too. Okay. All right, Millie, I think you're up next.
Turn my microphone on.
All right.
In the love of truth and in the creation of beauty, the Father and the Son are equal, except that the Son appears to devote himself more to the realization of the exclusively spiritual beauty of universe values. In the divine goodness, I discern no difference between the Father and the Son. The Father loves his universe children as a father. The eternal Son looks upon all creatures both as father and as a brother.
Okay. Oops, I skipped over. You did 2. Okay, did 2 on me there, but that's okay. All right. So when you look at the Son and you consider the goodness and the divineness of the Son, there seems to be no difference, right? But the Son appears to devote himself more to the realization of spiritual beauty and universal values. So he's more the action arm of God the Father, right? But as the beings of the super universe, it's hard to differentiate the two. Okay, other than the fact that the people looks at God the Father as a father, and the eternal Son is both a father and a brother, right? Now, we're going to add one more to that here in a minute. We're going to talk about God the Son being the mother of all, okay? Which is kind of interesting. All right, so he's both the father, the brother, and the mother, okay? All right, Stephen, would you take the next ministry of the Father's love?
Okay. The Son shares the justice and righteousness of the Trinity, but overshadows these divinity traits by the infinite personalization of the Father's love and mercy. The Son is a revelation of divine love to the universes. As God is love, so the Son is mercy. The Son cannot love more than the Father, but he can show mercy to creatures in one additional way. For he not only is a primal creature, like the Father, but he is also the eternal Son of that same Father, thereby sharing in the sonship experience of all other sons of the universal Father.
Okay, so he basically overshadows everything with the Father's love and mercy. Now, what are we talking about mercy here? This is a big term. You don't have your dictionary handy, do you, Stephen? Probably not.
Yeah, let's see here. What do you need?
Mercy. What does your dictionary say mercy is?
Okay. Give me just a second here.
And by the way, Stephen said primal creature, but it's primal creator.
Primal creator, that's right. That's right.
Okay. Okay. Mercy. Kind or compassionate treatment of an offender, adversary, prisoner in one's power. Compassion where severity is expected or deserved.
Okay. So what we're talking about here is what? Compassion for beings that don't know better, right? Does that make sense? Which is not the definition. If you look it up, and I'll let y'all do that on your own, look up what the Christian definition of mercy is. It has to do with sin. Okay? And that's not what they're talking about here, is it? They're talking about compassion because we're ignorant creatures, aren't we? Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you the origin in the English language. This is where mercy, the term mercy first showed up in the 13th centuries. It's from Latin, and it's for paying a price, wages. Okay, from Merc, Middle English. I'm trying to read this from across the room. Anglo-French mercy is where it came from. So, the Christian definition of mercy is more along the line of what? Sin. Forgiveness of sin, isn't it? But that's not what they're talking about here, are they? They're talking about the Father's love and compassion for His creatures. Does that make sense? I want to make sure we understood that. So when you talk about the Son being merciful, it's because the Son is a father and a brother that understands the creatures that His Creator Sons created, that are imperfect and are clawing their way up the ladder to try to find what? Perfection. That's what mercy is about. He's patient, understanding, kind, and compassionate for those beings that are trying to make it to the Father. Does that make more sense? Okay?
No.
That's why
Yes.
that's why I wanted to bring up this mercy. Okay? And when you have time, go out to the internet and look up the Christian definition of mercy. You're going to find a definition that's totally different. Okay? I did that today, and I thought, that's kind of interesting. The difference in the way we perceive of mercy. And the mercy they're talking about in the Urantia book is a beautiful, wonderful, giving, loving thing.
We're enshrouded with love,
It's enshrouded with love.
rather
That's,
than sin as being something we're bad and
That's
we've
right.
done something wrong. It's
that's
just-
right. It's all in the perception of what we know, right? Okay? All right. Rodney, would you take the next one? The Eternal Son?
The Eternal Son is the great mercy minister to all creation. Mercy is the essence of the Son's spiritual character. The mandates of the Eternal Son, as they go forth over the spirit circuits of the second source and center, are keyed in tones of mercy.
Now you know the definition. Does this paragraph not make better sense? Okay? Because we know mercy is compassion, caring, right? And this is the mandates of the Eternal Son, that all beings be compassionate to what? One another, right? Have mercy on one another. Love one another. And the spirit circuits are all keyed in the tones of mercy. Acceptance of one another, right? So this paragraph comes alive once you know the true meaning of what they're talking about is mercy, right?
Mm.
You know, me and Stephen were talking about a little bit on the way to VA the other day about the differences when you look something up. It's important as you read this book to look these terms up in the dictionary. Stephen does it a lot. I did it when I first started reading the book. I looked up everything. But you got to remember, sometimes the definitions are different than what? Than what the Urantia book considers as the definitions. They redefine many things. So keep that in mind when you look these things up. And it's interesting when you look something like this up, it's mercy, if you look up the Christian definition of mercy compared to the Urantia book's definition of mercy. You know, that's even interesting. So, anyway, let's keep going. Let's see. You're on, I think.
To comprehend the love of the Eternal Son, you must first perceive the divine source, the Father who is love, and then behold the unfolding of this infinite affection in the far-flung ministry of the infinite Spirit and his almost limitless host of ministering personalities.
It gives you a totally different view of the personality of the Father, doesn't it? God's not angry at us. God loves us, you know? We're going to talk about that in here in a minute, too. The next paragraph. All right. I get to read this, and this is such an important paragraph. The ministry of the Eternal Son is devoted to the revelation of God of love of the universe of universes. This divine Son is not engaged in the ignoble task of trying to persuade his gracious Father to love his lowly creatures and to show mercy to the wrongdoers of time. Did you catch that? It's not that. How wrong to envisage the Eternal Son as appealing to the universal Father to show mercy to his lowly creatures on the material worlds of space. Exclamation point.
I can understand that.
Yeah. Such concepts of God are crude and grotesque. Rather should you realize that all the merciful ministrations of the sons of God are a direct revelation of the Father's heart of universal love and infinite compassion. The Father's love is real and the eternal source of the Son's mercy. So is God mad at us? No. Is he angry at us? No. They call these concepts what? Crude and grotesque. That's pretty strong, isn't it? Okay? So what is it that the Father has for us? Nothing but love, right? He understands our shortcomings. We're animal creatures. We're trying to figure it out as we go, right? He's not going to destroy the world because he's mad at us. What a ridiculous concept, you know? You know, when you read in the Bible and they talk about Noah being, the world being flooded to destroy mankind because God was disappointed, that's a ridiculous thought if you think about it.
Yeah,
You know? God is not like that.
that is.
You know, God, the Son of God has mercy on us all, compassion for us all, because he understands where we come from, right? The hardest part for us to learn is to have mercy on what? Each other. That's right. That's right. Okay, and I know when I say these things, these are right out of the Urantia book. These are my concepts, but they're the Urantia book concepts. If you can read, read it for yourself, you know. It's pretty straightforward as far as I'm concerned. We have a wrong concept of God most of the time. Okay. Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. God is so above what man can conceive. Man has always tried to put his own personality on God.
Hang on,
Oh.
Millie. I think I skipped over one or something again.
No, I think that all fine.
No, there should be
God is love.
God is love. Yeah.
God is love, the Son of mercy. Mercy is applied love. The Father love is action in the person of the eternal Son. The love of this universal Son is like wise universal.
Yeah.
The love of this universal Son is likewise universal. As love is comprehended on a sex planet, the love of God be more compatible to the love of a father, while the love of eternal Son is more like the affection of a mother. Crude indeed, but such illustrations, but I imply that I am
Employ them.
employed in the hope of conveying in the human mind the thought that there is a difference, not in divine content, but in quality and technique of expression between the love of a father and the love of a son.
Okay, so God's love is more like a father, right? And the Son's love is more like a mother, a caring, nurturing, giving being, right? A father is what? Looks out after his sons and daughters and makes sure everything's certain ways and that sort of thing and loves them unconditionally. But the mother is more affectionate, isn't she? She relates to those beings closer. And that's what they're trying to relay here. The eternal Son, being a Son of God, understands us in a way more like a mother because we are all sons of God also, right? So he's not only a brother, he's like a mother to us. He's a mother in the sense that all beings come from the creation of the eternal Son, right? So we have God the Father and God the Mother, don't we? And the eternal Son. And that's an interesting concept. And they say that's a crude illustration, but it's a very good one because really God the Son is our mother, isn't he? If you think about it. So I think that's kind of it's just a different quality and technique of expression of the love of God the Son, right? Compared to God the Father. It's a little different. Okay. Stephen, would you take the next one, the attributes of the eternal Son?
All right. The eternal Son motivates the spirit level of cosmic reality. The spiritual power of the Son is absolute in relation to all universe actualities. He exercises perfect control over the inner association of all undifferentiated spirit and energy and over all actualized spirit reality. Through his absolute grasp of spirit gravity, all pure, unfragmented spirit and all spiritual beings and values are responsive to the infinite drawing power of the primal Son of Paradise. And if the eternal future should witness the appearance of an unlimited universe, the spirit gravity and the spirit power of the original Son will be found wholly adequate for the spiritual control and effective administration of such a boundless creation.
Okay. Let me give you an example of something. Remember the other night we showed a picture of all the super universes and the 4 outer space levels, and yet 100% of spirit gravity is used out to the edges of the 7 super universes. Remember that? 100% a spirit gravity. Now, why is that? Because that's the only area that's that's populated with spirits, right? Is out to the 7 super universes. But it says right here that regardless of how large the unlimited universe gets, there's always adequate drawing power of the original Son to what? To draw all beings to himself, right?
Oh, it's
And to
to me, that's a really strange. You gotta follow me here. What
Okay.
I'm thinking, that it's a strange thing to say that even if creation was boundless, there would be adequate spirit. I understand that. However,
Yeah.
it's as far as I know, it's never been actual. I mean, what the heck's out there? How can it be boundless and
Because it's unqualified
they-
absolute.
no ahead of time? I don't understand.
It's because it's part of the. Diane hit it right on the head. It's part of
What is
the unqualified absolute. It's part of
Right.
the unqualified absolute. The 4 outer space levels are the working of the unqualified absolute. Now, what is the
But let me go here a step further. Beyond the unqualified absolute, there's nothing out there.
We don't know that, Rodney. See, that's why it's always interesting. They're just relating us. They're relating to us the things we know from the teachers of the Urantia book. There might be a whole another 3 or 4
Yeah,
universes being developed out there that they don't tell us about because they don't see any reason.
exactly.
So we don't really
Right
know
there.
what goes out there. If you think about
I
it.
know that.
We do know that the unqualified absolute there and the spirit drawing power of the eternal Son will not be out there till when? Until the
So populated.
that's right, till it's populated. That's exactly right. Which is an interesting concept if you think about it. But it's adequate to go out indefinitely. Why is that? Because it's because of the absolutes of the Trinity. The eternal Son is part of the absolutes, the 7 absolutes of God the Father, right? And as long as they are always together, there will always be those circuits together, won't they? I mean, if you think about it.
So for infinity or eternity of nothing but bare space, up and over and everywhere, is all God.
Is all God, that's right. And God the Father and God the Son and God the Spirit are all intertwined in all of that, always. Okay? Always.
Well,
And it's, when we talked about this, the separate entities, the 7 absolutes, when we talk about the outer space levels, we're almost talking like the universal, or the unqualified absolutes out there by itself, and there's no personality involved, but there is because of what? God the Father. You can't separate these absolutes from the I Am, which is what? God the Father, right? So, all reality is always contained within God the Father, right? It's a hard concept to get. It really is.
yeah, it's interesting.
It is interesting. Okay, let's keep going. Who just read? Oh, I think Stephen did. Rodney, would you take the next one?
Okay, that little one there.
Yeah.
The Son is omnipotent only in the spiritual realm. In the eternal economy of universe administration, wasteful and needless repetition of function is never encountered. The deities are not given the useless duplication of universe ministry.
So these different circuits are unique within themselves. They don't overlap, do they?
No micromanagement.
No micromanagement. That's right. That's right. All right. And that is omnipotent. It was that word. All right. Okay.
The omnipresence of the original Son constitutes the spiritual unity of the universe of universes. The spiritual cohesion of all creation rests upon the everywhere active presence of the divine spirit of the eternal Son. When we conceive of the Father's spiritual presence, we find it difficult to differentiate it in our thinking from the spiritual presence of the eternal Son. The Spirit of the Father is eternally resident in the Spirit of the Son.
So they're back basically interactive or interweave within each other, aren't they? You know, there's no separating the two. And that's what they say here. They find it difficult to differentiate between the two of them, right? Wherever you find the Father, you find the Son. Wherever you find the Son, you find the Father, right? Okay. The Father must be spiritually omnipresent, but such omnipresence appears to be inseparable from the everywhere spirit activities of the eternal Son. You can't separate them, right? We do, however, believe that in all situations of Father-Son presence of a dual spiritual nature, that the Spirit of the Son is coordinate with the Spirit of the Father. So they always act in what? Harmony with each other, constantly. There are never disharmony. There's no disharmony in the universe. Okay, Millie, would you take the next one?
Got it. Okay. In his contact with personality, the Father acts in the personality circuit. In his personal and detectable contact with spirit creation, he appears in the fragments of the totality of the deity, and these Father fragments have a solitary, unique, and exclusive function wherever and whenever they appear in the universes. In all such situations, the Spirit of the Son is coordinate with the spiritual function of the fragmented presence of the Universal Father.
Okay, so the Father has a personality circuit. He also has what? The thought adjusters, which are not personality circuit, okay? Two separate entities of the Father, right? So all the Father fragments, or the thought adjusters, are separate from this personality, right? Even though they're coordinate, okay? And on top of that, the Son has a spiritual presence or a function of the presence of the Universal Father also. The spirit part of the Son is superimposed on, not inside the Father fragment. Okay? They're two separate entities. The spiritual circuit, the personality circuit are different, and the Father fragments are different. Three separate entities. Okay? And even though the Son's superimposed, it does not mean that the Son's circuit works from within, it works from without us. Okay? Alright. Stephen, would you take the next one?
I want to say something. I want to say something right here before Stephen says that.
Okay.
Going back to the end of the first section, I started highlighting coordinate.
Right.
And I've got lots of, I think it's very important that we focus on the Son is coordinate with the fragmented presence
That's
of
right.
the Universal Father.
It is.
Everywhere, at all times.
It is, but it's superimposed, Millie. It's not, it doesn't come from within, it comes from without. Okay? That's part of the spiritual circuit. That's the spirit of truth. Okay, in our lives. It's an external spiritual draw. It's an external force. Where the Father fragment is an internal force within us. Now, keep in mind the Father and the Son never do anything separate, though. Right? But they are different entities. That's the whole point. They are coordinate. Like you said, always. Okay? Alright, Stephen?
Alright. In his contact with personality,
I think we're on
The Father
hang on, did I?
pardon?
Next one. The next
Oh,
one.
the next one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spirituality.
Spiritually, the eternal Son is omnipresent. The Spirit of the eternal Son is most certainly with you and around you, but not within you and a part of you like the mystery monitor. The indwelling Father fragment adjusts the human mind to progressively divine attitudes, whereupon such an ascending mind becomes increasingly responsive to the spiritual drawing power of the all-powerful spirit gravity circuit of the second source and center.
It's always in the next paragraph. And that's what we were just talking about. The mystery monitor is within you. The spirit circuit is without you, but it draws you back to the Father and to the Son, and they work with each other, right? Coordinate with each other. Okay? That's
And the spirit is the mind part of it.
and the spirit is part of the mind part of it. That's right. And that's what, Rodney? The infinite
Pardon me?
spirit, right?
Yeah, infinite spirit.
That's right. Okay. All right. Let's see.
It just reminds me of a Beatles song called "Within You and Without You."
Within you and without you. That's right. Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
The original song is universally and spiritually self-conscious. In wisdom, the Son is the full equal of the Father. In the realms of knowledge, omniscience, we cannot distinguish between the first and second sources. Like the Father, the Son knows all. He is never surprised by any universe event. He comprehends the end from the beginning.
So he really has a mind like the Father, then, right? Okay. All right. Let's see here. Dear, would you take the next one?
The Father and the Son really know the number and whereabouts of all the spirits and spiritualized beings in the universe of universes. Not only does the Son know all things by virtue of his own omnipresent spirit, but the Son, equally with the Father and the conjoint actor, is fully cognizant of the vast reflectivity, intelligence of the Supreme Being, which intelligence is at all times aware of all things that transpire on all the worlds of the 7 superuniverses. And there are other ways in which the Paradise Son is omnipotent.
You see how the reflectivity circuit comes in there of the Supreme Being? Okay? Through reflectivity, the Son is right there all the time, isn't he? Even though he knows everything that's going on, but through reflectivity of what? The Supreme Being, which comes through what? The infinite Spirit, right? They're aware of all that goes on all the time. Okay? The Eternal Son, as a loving, merciful, and ministering spiritual personality, is wholly and infinitely equal with the Universal Father. While in all those merciful and affectionate personal contacts with the ascendant beings of the lower realms, the Eternal Son is just as kind and considerate, just as patient and long-suffering as are the Paradise Sons of the local universes who so frequently bestow themselves upon the evolutionary worlds of time. So since the Creator Sons come from the infinite Son, they have the same what? The
Mercy.
same traits as the
Right.
infant. Yeah, as the Son of God. Interesting how this all fits together. Okay, Millie, would you take the next one?
Got it. It is needless further to expatiate.
Expatiate.
Yeah. What's that word? Expatiate on the attributes of the Eternal Son. With the exceptions noted, it is only necessary to study the spiritual attributes of God the Father to understand and correctly evaluate the attributes of God the Son.
So he's basically saying it's no sense in going any further. If you understand the attributes of God the Father, you understand the attributes.
They're parallel.
They're parallel. That's right. They're inseparable, aren't they? Okay. Let me see where I'm at. All right. Give me 1 second, y'all. Let me see how much we can go. We might get through this. I don't know. So, okay. Stephen, would you take the next one? The limitations of
The eternal Son. Okay, the eternal Son does not personally function in the physical domain, nor does the function except through the co-joint actor in the levels of mind ministry to creature beings. But these qualifications do not in any manner otherwise limit the eternal Son in the full and free exercise of all the divine attributes of spiritual omniscience, omnipresence, and omnipotence.
Okay, so the Son does not personally function in the physical domains, okay, except through what? The conjoint actor, the physical part, right? Conjoint actor works with what? Paradise on the control of physical matter, right? Okay, but that does not limit the eternal Son, because who does he have? He has the Creator Sons, doesn't he? The Creator Sons are the working of the eternal Son. So all that can be done through the Creator Sons, right? Rodney, would you take the next one, please?
Okay, the eternal Son does not personally pervade the potentials of spirit inherent in the infinity of the deity absolute. But as these potentials become actual, they come within the all-powerful grasp of the spirit gravity circuit of the Sun.
Okay, let me see if I can get down here without skipping. I did. I skipped right over it. Okay, so they're talking about here the deity absolute. Now, we went through this when we went through the organization of universe reality. And under this very first section is the deity absolute, which is what? The same as the qualified absolute. Why is the deity absolute the qualified absolute? For the qualified absolute to be qualified, it has to have what? Deity. Okay? All right. All right. So, the eternal Son does not pervade the potential spirit in the deity absolute. And that's what they're talking about here. Okay? And you can read this at your leisure later. Okay? But these potentials become actual when they become into the grasp of the spiritual gravity circuit of the Sun. So as the Sun expands out into the outer space levels, the spirit gravity circuit will kick in, and this deity absolute will be part of that spiritual gravity circuit at that point. Okay? Does that make sense? I know it's kind of complicated. Let's go on. I don't want to get bogged down here. Okay. I could teach a whole class on that again. All right?
No shade there.
It has.
It has.
Personality is the exclusive gift of the Universal Father. The Eternal Son derives personality from the Father, but he does not, without the Father, bestow personality. The Son gives origin to a vast spirit host, but such derivations are not personalities. When the Son creates personality, he does so in conjunction with the Father or with the conjoint Creator, who may act for the Father in such relationships. The Eternal Son is thus a co-creator of personalities, but he bestows personality upon no being and of himself alone, never creates personal beings. The limitation of action does not, however, deprive the Son of the ability to create any or all types of other than personal reality.
So if it has personality, it has to come from the Father, or from the Father through the conjoint Creator, right? So he can create beings that are other than personal. Now, what kind of beings would be other than personal? These would be beings that do automatic functions, right? Like power controllers and things like that, right? All right, and that's what that's about. We could teach a whole class just on that. All right. The Eternal Son is limited in transmittal of Creator prerogatives. The Father, in eternalizing the original Son, bestowed upon him the power and privilege of subsequently joining with the Father in the divine act of producing additional sons possessing creative attributes. And this they have done and now do. That's the creator sons, right? But when these coordinate sons have been produced, prerogatives of creatorship are apparently not further transmittable. So the creator sons can't transmit those creator prerogatives to other beings. That's right. The eternal Son transmits creatorship powers only to the first or direct personalization. Therefore, when the Father and Son unite to personalize a Creator Son, they achieve their purpose. But the Creator Son thus brought into existence is never able to transmit or delegate the prerogatives of creatorship to the various orders of sons, which he may subsequently create. Notwithstanding that, in the highest local universe sons, there does appear a very limited reflection of the creative attributes of a creator son. So they seem almost perfect when they're created by the creator son, don't they? Who are they talking about? The Most Highs, the Verondadeks, the Lonadeks, those types of sons, right? All right. Millie, would you take the next one for me, please?
The Eternal Son is an infinite and exclusively personal being, cannot fragmentize his nature, cannot distribute and bestow individualized portions of his selfhood upon other entities or persons, as do the Universal Father and the Infinite Spirit. But the Son can and does bestow himself as an unlimited spirit to bathe all creation and unceasingly draw all spirit personalities and spiritual realities to himself.
So he can't create thought adjusters, can he? Only the Father can do that. He can't fragment himself like the Father does. Okay? Though he does bathe us in what? The Spirit of truth. Right? Through the Creator Sons. Alright, Stephen, would you take the next one?
Ever remember, the Eternal Son is a personal portrayal of the Spirit Father to all creation. The Son is personal and nothing but personal in the deity sense. Such a divine and absolute personality cannot be disintegrated or fragmentized. God the Father and God the Spirit are truly personal, but they are also everything else in addition to being such deity personalities.
Okay. So, the Eternal Son is personal, right? But personal only in the deity sense, okay? And so that personality cannot be fragmentized, can it? So that personality is the gift of the Father, right? And who's the really only being that can give you personality? God the Father, right? All right. Interesting, isn't it, how it all works? It all has its own compartments. Roddy, would you take the next one, please?
Though the Eternal Son cannot personally participate in the bestowal of the thought adjusters, he did sit in council with the Universal Father in the eternal past, approving the plan and pledging endless cooperation when the Father, in projecting the bestowal of the thought adjusters, proposed to the Son, "Let us make mortal man in our own image." And as the spirit fragment of the Father dwells within you, so does the spirit presence of the Son envelope you, while these two forever work as one for your spiritual advancement.
So how are we in the image of God? Through the fragment of God. The thought adjuster. That's how we are made in the image of God. Not the way we look, not the way we feel and all that stuff. It's the thought adjuster that makes us in the image of God. And it was the Son that worked in cooperation with the Father in projecting this concept. You see
And you
that?
know, the thing is that is in Genesis. Let us make mortal man
In our own
our
image. That's right.
and it's just, how do people answer that? A modern day Christian can't.
That's right. They can't. It doesn't make sense, does it, Rodney? To most people.
No.
But once you understand the thought adjuster, and once you understand the spirit circuit of the Son, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
It does. It makes perfect
It
sense.
makes perfect sense. And it's almost 9 o'clock, so I think we're going to have to stop here, even though we got only 2 sections left. But we'll come back to this next week. So let's say a prayer. I hope y'all enjoyed this tonight. This is such a wonderful paper about the eternal Son. It
Oh,
really is.
yes.
Diane, would you say a closing prayer for us tonight?
Father, we are profoundly grateful for this lesson tonight. We thank you for the wisdom and the interpretation and the understanding that has come from studying this paper. Help us to also have hearts of mercy, compassion for each other as we walk along our daily paths of life. We just thank you for everything, in Jesus' name. Christ Michael of Nebadon. Amen.
Amen. Thank
Amen.
you all at home for joining us. Give me a second to turn off the cameras. We'll have just a word. Remember, at home you can find these slides online at the Fifth Epical Revelation Fellowship.com. Thank you.